graveside. So glad, so glad, so glad that you are gone. In Cardboard City, I hope you're having fun. And all you voters everywhere will remember what you've done. Remember what you've done. And wander dimly through the past of the England that you knew. These dispossessed and homeless children, they all belong to you. They all belong to you. And I am just a jangling man, been in the cold too long. And I live with a raggedy Ann. We never had any money. Is it really so wrong when we dream of a feeling to wake one day and find that you are gone? And will we dance by the graveside? So glad, so glad, so glad that you are gone.
Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, March 9th, 2018. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. Oh, it's Casual Friday, folks. I'm not even wearing a soft-colored shirt. I have replaced my collar with the hoodie, I guess. And as it being Casual Friday, we'll be welcoming the great Digby, Heather Parton, to the program to look back on this week and, frankly, the last 24 hours that was in the era of Donald Trump, and to help us digest more. Oh, and we got to look for some Bill O'Reilly stuff because he's back on the air. I mean, not Bill O'Reilly, Dennis Miller.
Really?
Yeah, you should be looking for that right now. Andy Kindler will be with us live from Vancouver, Canada. So if you're listening from Vancouver, you better get on those tickets right now. Also on the program today, Trump accepts invitation to validate Kim Jong-un and screw up bilateral talks. Meanwhile, he signs tariff bill, alienates our allies and his allies. And will Justice Kennedy retire, and will it torpedo Democrats in 2018? Meanwhile, Democrats contemplate eliminating superdelegates altogether. And in an ACLU lawsuit, Chris Kobach proves the old saying, a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. Republicans have a new gerrymander plan. And Seychelles Seychelles by the African shore. I couldn't come up with anything else on that, but there was something there, folks, but it may take a couple of days. Meanwhile, super strong jobs report. Wages still unmoved, however. And what can you buy for the cost of Ryan Zinke's new door at the office of the Secretary of the Interior? All this and more on today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's another Friday. I am a bit sleepy. The good news is that Saul has not peed in his or my bed for 2 days. The bad news is that when he's gone to the bathroom, it is always preceded by a loud scream of "Dad!" And then I've got to go in and walk him in there, and then I can't fall back to sleep. So it's one of those things. It's like that book, Good News, Bad News, with the haystack.
Out his Mike Flynn Jr. impression?
I swear to God, it sounds exactly like that. I swear to you. And if it wasn't for the fact that it wakes me like a jolt, like literally if someone was like sticking me with a pin, I would try and record it. But by the time I'm like stumbling out of bed, banging into the walls. By the time I realize even what's going on. But it's like that book. Remember that kid's book? The one with like Fortunately, Unfortunately. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
I guess it's a book from the mid 20th century. So you guys have but it's, fortunately the guy was, unfortunately he had to jump out of a plane. Fortunately he had a parachute. Unfortunately, the parachute didn't open. Fortunately, there was a haystack.
That vaguely rings a bell, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's
unfortunately,
there was
Japanese,
that's from Japan. That's like an old,
maybe
I don't know, saying basically. Yeah.
All right. Great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
Very high energy Friday.
Hey, yeah. Now this is.
I gotta go to
I'm
sleep
feeling
too.
super casual.
I feel
like I'm going to take a nap right
like
now, right here.
Like our mirror neurons are getting exhausted.
Yes. Donald Trump has done a job on everyone. As you know, Gary Cohn, the total scumbag who brought us the corporate tax giveaway, the guy who saved millions upon millions of dollars by being able to tax defer his investment in Goldman Sachs as a former Goldman Sachser, by performing public service. This was under a law or an executive order signed by George W. Bush. He's pretending he's leaving because of tariffs, the White House, when in fact it's because he was overlooked as Fed chair. In similar fashion to his overlooking the fact that his boss was at least partially pro-Nazi. Right? I mean, that's a fair assessment.
Oh, you think he cares about
so.
that?
Well, no, but I think that when he went to Scholl and had to justify it to his friends, like, Gary, what are you doing? You're supporting a guy who supports Nazis. Well, if I'm not there, the stock market will fall or something. There was something to that effect. And they were like, oh, well, okay. So he's leaving. And just for one final humiliation, Donald Trump wanted to call this guy a Jew. And he realized that's somewhat inappropriate. So good for Trump. There was not a DOJ consent decree insisting that he not call Gary Cohn a Jew on the way out the door. But he did the next best thing. If you are a member of the alt-right, if you are a neo-Nazi or a white, supremacist, I guess, some of them, depending on, white nationalist, you're certainly going to get what Donald Trump is getting at here.
This is Gary Cohn's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific. He may be a globalist, but I still like him. He is seriously a globalist, there's no question. But you know what? In his own way, he's a nationalist because he loves our country. And Where is Gary?
Thank you, sir.
You love our country.
I do. I
Wow. A lot of guys in that room.
You love
So
our
I do even
country.
see like even the hint of a of a woman in there. And then what are those rockets? These projectiles that they have on the table. Oh. I just wanted to show Kim Jong Un. You got a big
Wow.
rocket. Got a really big penis that we put in the middle of the. That's really something. So there it is. Gary Cohn heads for the exits. Will there be a new chief economic advisor? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, let's face it, folks. We have no diplomatic corps in regards to North Korea or, it appears, South Korea. So Donald Trump is completely freelancing this. Digby and I will talk about it in just a moment, but pretty impressive.
Is it possible that Trump doesn't know that globalist has come to mean Jew in many contexts?
It's possible,
Anything's possible, particularly when the Jews are
but I'm
involved.
curious as to what he thinks a globalist is.
I think he has a vague idea.
You think so? Like, what do you think?
Yeah,
how
I
do
mean,
you-
he ran on economic nationalism in many ways and the idea that globalization is bad. So I think he just thinks globalist equals bad.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean,
like
but I don't.
Jew
I mean, this
equals
is a guy
bad.
who has as much international investment and outsourcing as you could probably get in the context of business. And so I'm just curious, like, what do you think's Gary Cohn is a globalist as opposed to Trump? I think that he just thinks it's about tariffs. Honestly, I mean, that's the only thing that I think that he could sort of wrap his mouth like.
Trump does.
Got to get into a trade war.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard for me to imagine Trump saying anything with like a hidden subtext.
No, I agree with that as well. I mean, I guess, but I also think
The
he probably
subtext is
thinks.
hidden from me too.
Oh, do I think he's explicitly saying Jew and says like I can't say Jew, I'm going to say globalist?
Yeah.
I think he probably thinks that most Jews are globalists. I gotta imagine
Finance. They're a
some
little
of that
sneaky.
came through
You know, Jew.
Jew.
Yeah, I guess it's not that subtle. Never mind.
Yeah, it's not really that subtle.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump held a press conference with steelworkers, trying to imply that there's going to be some type of massive job growth in the steel industry in this country. There may be a nominal growth in the jobs, maybe a couple thousand nationally. Maybe you could actually get through five figures, to 5 figures. I doubt it, but certainly he's not hosting those people who rely on steel, second order products. They're not coming to the White House because they're worried they're going out looking for new jobs. But here's Donald Trump showing just how connected he is to these steel workers.
Many of the countries that treat us the worst on trade and on military are our allies, as they like to call them. So we just want
And on
fairness.
military.
We just want fairness. Well, your father Herman is looking down. He's very proud of you right
He's
now.
still alive.
Oh, he is? Well, then he's even more proud of you. Then he's even more proud.
So
Anybody else,
excited.
please, come on
I'm
up.
so excited about that joke.
Let's arm wrestle. Come on.
There you
The old, your dad isn't dead, so he's even more happy joke. That's classic.
go. Classic stuff.
Learn that in the outer boroughs.
On military. What does he phrase it? Like
He says
on
on-
trade, on military.
But also on trade.
Wait, are you a working person? Doesn't everybody die at like 50 then? How is your dad still alive?
You're not dead.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Digby.
Have a heart, 16666, and I know the part. You are the river flow, and we can never know. We're just the weatherman, you make the wind blow. Keep thinking about every straight face, yes. Wonder what your boyfriend thinks about your braces. What about them? I'm all about them. 6 set straight A's, cut 'em in the bathroom. So this is it then, you hear the wind flip. Click satellite, see you on the wind. You're on the thing, pick up the phone then. Ring, ring, call my phone, trends. So this is it then, you hear the wind flip. Click satellite, see you on the wind. You're on the thing, pick up the phone then. Ring, ring, call my phone.
We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report on the phone. Always a great pleasure to welcome back to the program the proprietor of the Uber blog Hullabaloo, writer at Salon.com, Heather Parton or Digby. Hello, Heather. How are you?
Hey, Sam. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm a little sleepy, like we said off the air. I don't know an era in my life where I said TGIF more often and less ironically than now. But be that as it may, some big news yesterday. And it was very odd how we sort of heard of it because there doesn't seem to be any sort of infrastructure for our diplomatic corps in regards to the Korean Peninsula, right? Like, I mean, it just seems like some low-level folks are standing around waiting to figure out what they're supposed to do. And it was announced that Donald Trump, and I think from South Korea, was going to meet or was willing to meet with Kim Jong-un. And I don't know. This is, I mean, it's sort of exciting. It's also sort of nuts.
Well, look, it's nuts. I mean, that it's nuts. And yeah, I mean, everything about Trump is sort of exciting on a certain level, but this is nuts. Now, that's not to say that in the right hands, that having negotiations and talks with North Korea is a bad idea. Obviously, it is preferable to what we've been hearing, which is the bloody nose strategy, right? Just, we'll just bomb them a little bit, and
right.
then they'll capitulate. So, this is a better delaying tactic, if nothing else, right? Putting off the inevitable day when something really, really terrible happens under Trump. So, I'm not against it, but yes, of course, this just happened on some kind of an ad hoc basis. And remember, Kim and his father had made this offer many times to the different American presidents. Hey, let's meet, let's talk. And part of the reason for that is that it really does add to his prestige. He becomes a very, very important world leader, right? He meets with the president, that that Trump there's going to be all this, great elaborate kind of staging of the whole thing, because that's how Trump does it. And, this is going to be a big deal. It's a big deal for Kim. It puts him on a different level than he's ever been before. And of course, there were good reasons why American presidents in the past had declined that for that reason, trying to sort of contain this into a sort of a low-level threat and keep everything kind of, downplay it to the extent that they could, because it is a very dangerous thing. They want to keep the temperature down, right? You don't want things to get they didn't used to want things to get out of hand. So, this is not, Trump is they're kind of portraying this as, only, Trump has brought him to this point and now he's ready to meet. That's not true. They've been wanting to meet with an American president for a very long time. So, now CNN, they're calling Trump the unpredictable art of the deal president.
Oh, my God.
It's really sickening. So, he's getting, he managed to change the conversation, which he, is good at doing. Whether or not it stays changed, I would suspect after this amount of time we know that it won't stay changed, because, Trump there's always something new going on with the guy. But, in some ways, maybe he will be able to do something. Now, it would be really helpful if diplomats and other experts and people who knew what they were doing would be preparing him for this, but we know that he can't be prepared. He can't read a briefing book. He can't learn anything that he hasn't known. So if something good comes out of this, it will be an accident. But I guess, what are we going to do? We have no choice. We have to hope for the best. And, in some ways, only Trump could do this, because if it weren't Trump, if it were Obama or even George W. Bush, remember in 2005 they had six-party talks with, Japan and China and Russia, and, they were trying to contain this nuclear threat. And the right wing had a fit. They went nuts on Bush, and it was, you're selling us out. I mean, it's a Nixon goes to China kind of thing, right? Only the guy who won't be, baiting everybody else can be the one to do it. So, I guess I'm hopeful. I guess.
Well, let's just head down that path for a moment. This Nixon, because it's a Nixon-China dynamic, but it really is the question. There is a problem in terms of Democrats' ability to wage diplomacy, I guess, is the best way to put it. In that, and we say this many times, right? If Barack Obama had said what Donald Trump said yesterday, if Barack Obama had done that thing at a press conference like Donald Trump did last night, these would be month-long investigations by the Congress. In this instance, Democrats they can't get away, and get away is the wrong way. It's much harder for them to maneuver in this, and I wonder. Part of that I think is a function of the Democrats being weak, and I don't mean in terms of like not non-aggressive. I just mean weak in terms of having some type of bench in terms of foreign policy, and they end up acting extremely defensive, and in those instances make stupid moves, I guess. A Democratic president could never say like, "Oh, we're going to go meet with them with no preconditions." Right? There would be congressional resolutions and investigations, and we would see CNN, talking about how controversial this is, as opposed to like, he's an edgy deal maker or she's an edgy you know what I mean?
Right. Well, look at how Trump and all of these right-wing Republicans, and I shouldn't say all Republicans because there has been a divide on this, but I'm going to talk about the Iran deal. This is Trump who, throughout the time he's been, campaigning and in office, has been excoriating Obama over the Iran deal. And largely, we gave him money and we didn't get our hostages back and all this other stuff. Now, presumably, he thinks that he's going to go to North Korea, and I guess he's going to get Kim Jong-un to bow down, admit that he is, Trump's puppet, and give him everything he wants. That's absurd, of course. That's not going to happen. But imagine if he did say, okay, we'll lift the sanctions, and then, you only get to keep half of your nuclear arsenal, or, some whatever kind of compromise. And by the way, this is a far, far, far more complicated deal, a complicated situation than Iran ever was. Iran didn't have nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-un does. And, he's sitting there with a lot of leverage. And Donald Trump understands none of it because he's an effing moron. So the idea that he's going to go in there with no preparation and come out with a deal that is better than what the Obama administration got on Iran is completely laughable. It's impossible, actually. It's impossible. So, we're talking about a situation where even the person who, condemns the Democrats for trying to do some kind of a deal, and it's not just, his whole shtick was, all of our politicians make terrible deals, I'll make good deals. That's what I do, I'm a deal maker, right? And he hasn't made any deals. None. Zero accomplishments in that particular realm. So, this is a big problem for the left. Well, I shouldn't say the left, for Democrats. I mean, even moderate Republicans who might want to do something. And this goes way, way back, Sam, as you well know. I mean, we're talking back to the Cold War, who lost China arguments and stuff like that. So, I mean, this continues to be a huge problem where you have this right-wing, super hawks, and plenty of Democrats have been in that realm as well, less so today than there used to be, but they still exist. And, it hamstrings the American foreign policy for doing anything reasonable. I mean, you look at the Iran deal or the Paris Accords. Those were, in my view, accomplishments in Obama's term, and it was pulling teeth to get that done. And
they're not hailed.
Of course, look what's happened.
They're not hailed. I mean, if you sort of just look at the early coverage of somehow this is amazing that Donald Trump is going to sit down with Kim Jong-un, and you've made the point that this invite has basically been open. There's been an open invite to do this. The point is that the United States could never get concessions before it sits down because, as you mentioned, the sitting down with the president is a value, particularly to a guy, a country that has been outside of the international community, and to a country where the people living there probably, you can't eat pride, but they certainly get served it, and the idea that Kim Jong-un is validated by the president of the United States probably makes his leadership a little bit easier to maintain. And so this has value.
And think of the relationships with the other countries there. I mean, there was no consultation with Japan or China or South Korea or anybody about this. So, I mean, how do they even know how they feel about it? I mean, this is, these are complicated relationships. The idea that he would just do this off the cuff, they called us up and said, will you meet? And I said, yes. I mean, hey, you could tell by the look on Rex Tillerson's face, kind of, oh, Jesus, oh, my God.
Well, we should say,
what am I going to do?
Tillerson has actually, I guess, maybe it was this morning, released a statement saying that they're meeting, but it's not like a meeting is basically what he was trying to say.
They're talking, but they're not negotiating.
Right. They're just hanging out. There's no negotiations. We're not starting. Yeah, here it is. Talks, but no negotiations. Tillerson said on Friday that Trump will be holding talks, not negotiations, with Kim Jong-un. And Tillerson on Friday said President Trump has said it for some time that he's open to talks and he'd be willing to meet with Kim when conditions were right. I think the president's judgment, the time has arrived now. I wonder what it was that Kim Jong-un has done that made conditions right.
Don't know. Gosh, I don't know. It seems like, maybe Trump was feeling a little under the stormy weather. I don't know.
No, the problem is there was no black basketball players who were saying anything. So I had to find something else to do.
Maybe he'll bring Dennis Rodman.
Football season is over. So I can't. This is, the fact that Tillerson is, trying to already downplay it a little bit, but this has sailed on some level, right? This is going to set up a whole, a natural progression of thing. And, look, I think in the end of the day, if there was possible that there could be peace on the Korean Peninsula and it involved us taking our troops out and whatnot, I'm all for it. It's just that there has to be, one has to imagine that this is complicated and that there's a lot of different complicated forces that are acting upon this. And the massive vacuum, not only of the leadership by the United States, in the form of Donald Trump, but there's not really a diplomatic apparatus associated with the Korean Peninsula coming from the United States now, is there?
No. I mean, we don't have a South Korean ambassador. The State Department's top expert on this topic, and the top Korean diplomat who'd been there for 30 years and really had a full all the experience anyone would require. He's leaving. And there is really nobody. I mean, I guess we're depending on the oil man Rex Tillerson to be the guy who knows what he's doing on this. I mean, this is very, like I said, if anything good comes out of this, it will be an accident, because there's no way that there is any kind of strategy or any level of deep knowledge going into whatever these, talks, not negotiations are. And it's Donald Trump who is completely clueless. Now, I could see Kim. I understand that they're going to meet if this actually happens, that they'll meet in some kind of neutral territory. That's what I heard discussed on CNN this morning.
I think it was a McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah, and, they
get a
could
big
share a little
garbage scow and put a
Big Mac.
McDonald's on it, and we meet there in the Korean Sea.
Yeah, I mean, I had sort of had a picture in my head of Trump showing up in Pyongyang and them putting on one of the big, military parades.
Yeah.
And, I like that,
Exactly.
Look what they did for me. It's the best. It's the biggest, But apparently that, if this happens, that won't be happening. And I think that is part of, that would be disturbing to Trump. I mean, I think what Trump wants out of this, obviously, is, all the big international attention and have it be a big show and have him being feted by Kim and, by this mortal enemy, which he will perceive as he did with Xi in China. Oh, look what they did for me. They love me, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I don't think he can get that out of this. I mean, I don't think even the Trump administration can pull off sending the president of the United States to Pyongyang. I just don't think that can happen. So I don't know. And look, and they want to do this immediately, right? I mean, this is what he's saying they'll meet in May, which is completely and utterly absurd. But
I should have that'll give me time to read a couple of pages. You can just spread it out.
Watch a little Fox and Friends. See what they have to say about it.
Well, actually, I mean, I'm glad you raised that, Digby, because I'm sure Donald Trump is watching Fox News to see how his overtures to North Korea are playing. And here is Donald Trump's chief advisor, or one of his chief advisors, I guess. It's been reported. Sean Hannity on Fox News. This is where he is actually delivering the news.
All right, the media liberals, they're looking like complete fools tonight because they are once again turning out to be completely wrong about President Trump. The commander-in-chief's leadership is now leading to a major foreign policy breakthrough as it relates to North Korea. This is what we call peace through strength in action. The president is causing little rocket man to back down. Now, it's something that President Barack Obama, other presidents all failed to do. Now, President Trump's tough words, his actions, are now starting to yield positive results, and hopefully this will end in the protection of America and, of course, the world and the region in particular. Now, Trump's extremely tough sanctions, they have now backed Kim Jong-un into a corner. He was forced to capitulate. Now, it's a long way to go. We've got to be cautious, trust but verify, but meeting with Kim Jong-un under the pretense that he will stop all nuclear missile testing, this is a good start.
Did he say the pretense?
Wow. I mean, it's unbelievable. Somebody should go back and see what Sean Hannity had to say about previous.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. Wait a second. I want to pull that back up. I want to see that last line because I think he accidentally basically just gave up the ghost here as to what Kim Jong-un is doing. I'm quite convinced he just said here he's going to meet with Donald Trump under the pretense that he's going to give up. Here we go.
Extremely tough sanctions. They have now backed Kim Jong-un into a corner. He was forced to capitulate. Now, it's a long way to go. We've got to be cautious, trust but verify, but meeting with Kim Jong-un under the pretense that he will stop all nuclear missile testing, this is a good start.
Right. I think Sean Hannity has nailed it.
Yeah, I think so. That's what you call what do they call it? A Kindler gaffe?
Yeah, exactly.
Where someone accidentally tells the truth.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
The subtext is the text in this instance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people I think who seem to be concerned, and hopefully it's something positive coming, but that there's nothing. It's highly unlikely that Kim Jong-un says, "Okay, we've met now. Now I'm going to stop, testing these things." It seems highly unlikely, but like you say, Donald Trump is going to be heading into this meeting with no sense of how he's going to be used, and what this does in terms of allowing China to basically say, we're going to back off any type of sanctions because look at the level of reasonableness that we're seeing now. And, it's one thing to sanction these guys to bring them to the table, but they're at the table. They're not, they're eating maybe a different food, and maybe they're playing cards instead of having dinner, but they're at the table. And so again, this is all speculation, but there's concern that this is really just sort of an exit strategy for China. And then if China exits, this sort of the at least the rhetorical and the performative isolation of North Korea, then there will be no checks on North Korea going forward. So I guess there's a lot to be lost here. There's a lot to be gained. But again, you have to bet on the Trump administration, which seems to be woefully inadequate in terms of the task.
Well, of course it's woefully inadequate. You're being very kind in putting it that way.
Well, it's
They're
casual
epic
Friday.
Morons.
I don't want to.
I mean,
yes,
let's face it. I mean, look, this is, like I said, and I keep saying it, something good could come of it because the situation is putting us in, you can flip a coin, you can just, pray. I mean, whatever it is that you hope for might happen just out of pure coincidence. But the idea that Trump is going to meet with Kim Jong-un and they're going to have some meeting of the minds, and Kim is going to, decide that it's really in his best interest to get rid of all of his nuclear weapons, and by the way, it allows the people in to inspect the entire country and make sure, because of course that would have to be part of it. And that, that suddenly he just has a complete change of heart, is totally and completely moved by something that Donald Trump said to him, and does all this. I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible, but let's just say it's unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, it really does make you wonder if these guys are just like, oh, somebody got to Kim Jong-un and said, you realize you can totally play this guy.
Of course. He
Right?
may have just seen it. I mean, he watches, TV. He can see how easily, or watches what Trump's behavior in China. And look at it this way, too. I mean, and you and I have talked about this before. One of the things that Kim has seen, and he's not the only one in the world, has seen that if you do give up your nuclear weapons, if you negotiate in good faith on that level, what happens is the United States invades your country. That's the lesson of the last few years from Iraq, Libya. I think that Kim has probably noticed that. And I think that it makes it, this isn't just Trump's fault. This is the United States' fault, right? I mean, we did this thing. And now the lesson is clear to someone like Kim. He's not ignorant. I mean, he's, people look at him and think, well, this guy's, he's a little, intellectually undeveloped or something. But I don't think that's true. I mean, I don't think he's an idiot, and I think he can see. And that's why he's been doing what he's doing. And he looked at Trump's behavior in China. He probably is very well aware that the dotard is completely incapable of doing anything. And he has no intention of giving up his nuclear weapons. I guess that's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen. So, and Trump apparently has no intention of trying to work on some containment strategy. He wants, it's all or nothing. So I don't know where that goes,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much panic there is within the administration, or within, I should say, maybe the State Department between now and then, right? I mean, we've seen Tillerson already coming out and saying like they're talks, not negotiations. We're not really
a little chat.
We're not fully at negotiations, and you imagine the people bringing the briefing book to Donald Trump, and having spent whatever 5, 10 years. 20 years, 30 years of their career, sending stuff up the pipeline to the president in terms of like intel and understanding of North Korea, and handing it to this dude, and him just looking at it going like, there's no pictures, so I don't know what it says, is a little bit terrifying, but I guess hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move from that, because it's been, a crazy week, and I have touched on this. I'm just curious about your theory about Stormy Daniels, because my operating theory has been for about a month or so now, basically since the story about Stephen Cohen, being the one to pay her off prior to the election to keep her quiet. I've been operating under the theory that this is not about the election, because, does anybody think that there's a single vote that's going to be lost because this guy had an affair with an adult film worker, or anybody else for that matter? I don't think that, and I don't think they were worried about that. And certainly we found out this week that Michael Cohen was trying to suppress her speech now. So the idea that it was about the election doesn't make as much sense, right? I mean, he's been elected. Why, you have this stuff floating around there. Now would be exactly the time that you would want it released, right? Because you don't want it closer to the election in 2020 if he's going to rerun. My operating theory has been that there's a prenuptial agreement between Donald Trump and Melania, and it says something that she gets a massive payout if X happens, and Donald Trump knows that X happened with Stormy Daniels. Now, some people are saying, is there a paternity test involved in this? Was there, like an abortion, or, I feel like it could be any of those that, probably are the dividing line is like no intercourse, or no intercourse without protection. And if there's evidence that arises that he broke that, then I would imagine there's a document that says Melania gets like some extraordinary amount of money for divorcing him. I don't know, $50 million, like one of those jobbies, or $100 million. But what's your take on what's going on here?
Well, I find your theory very intriguing, and that may very well be what it is. I mean, just on the marriage angle alone, this is not good. I mean, Trump could deny. Melania came out after the Access Hollywood tape, and she did an interview, and she said, "Well, it was boys' talk," and she didn't. She pretended not to take it seriously. He claims that all these women are lying. They were just trying to stop him from being elected. She chose to believe that. But, this is an affair, and It's an affair with a porn star. Different thing. That's a different, consensual relationship that if Stormy Daniels has proof, and that may be the case, there may be something, according to the non-disclosure agreement, it's so specific that you have to wonder. I mean, maybe that's just Trump boilerplate for every non-disclosure agreement with a porn star that he has,
right.
And I'm sure there's many. But
Google has a template for that anyway, so.
Yeah, right, of course. But there is some suspicion that perhaps she has something, some kind of proof that they did have an affair, that there was something going on. And so perhaps, even if there was no prenup in any marriage, that would cause a bit of a strain to find out that your husband was having an affair with a porn star 4 months after you gave birth to to your son. So that's kind of an ugly thing to begin with. But I don't think Trump cares about that. I don't think that it would just be because, oh, my wife will be upset. I don't think he cares if she's upset. I just don't think that that's part of it. So I tend to think more what you're saying, that there was big money involved. And from what we understood from the Michael Wolff book, Fire and Fury, Melania was very seriously contemplating divorce. Had the election gone the other way, she was getting ready to leave him, and there have been rumors that she has an affair of her own, et cetera, et cetera. So, maybe that was what it is. I mean, maybe that was all it was. I'll tell you though, there's something about this that's different than all the rest, right? Trump has always denied this stuff. He's always said, they're gold diggers, they're all lying, the women, they're all liars, they're all a bunch of liars. And he was going to sue all the women who accused him of assault and harassment. There's something different about this. There's a reason why Michael Cohen has gone so far to keep this quiet. And whether or not it's this prenup business or it's something that Stormy Daniels knows about Trump, that if it got out would be dangerous to him. And, I don't know what that is. I do know that she's an adult film star, so she's not a person who would be, sexually shy. And I don't know if you've read this in the new book that's coming out by Michael Isikoff and David Korn, which explores Trump's Russia connections. It's called Russian Roulette. I haven't read the book, but I've read the excerpts that have been coming out this week. And one of the stories, just a little tiny anecdote. Do you remember when Trump met the Galarovs in Las Vegas? There's a picture of them meeting there with Rob Goldstone and all that stuff. This was before the 2013 Miss Universe pageant, and they were making their deal. There's a picture of them meeting in Vegas and they had a dinner, and there's Michaal Cohen is there, the Igalovs, the son and the father.
Remind people who that is, Igalarov.
Right. These are the Russians who, he's a real estate magnate. His son is a budding pop star. And they were among the financiers of the Miss Universe pageant coming to Moscow in 2013. They've been great friends with Trump, and were also involved in that infamous Trump Tower meeting in June of 2016 with Trump Jr., Jared, and Manafort to provide dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Right, from the lawyer, right? The lawyer who was ostensibly talking about adoption.
Exactly, and it was the son Emil Galarov, who is the budding pop star. His quote publicist Rob Goldstone, who we have not heard enough about him yet. He was the one who set up the meeting, and he was also at this dinner in Las Vegas. He was very much involved with Trump, Keith Schiller, the rest of them during the Miss Universe pageant in 2013. In any case, in this Vegas meeting, this is something that there's just a little anecdote that stuck out to me. The Agalovs are there, Goldstone's there, they have this dinner with Trump, and later that night they are going to go out clubbing, and they're going to go to this place called The Act, and it was in one of the hotels, I can't remember which one. And Trump calls them up and says he wants to go along, make room for him. So they do. They go to this thing, and there are pictures of it, of him standing in front, the sort of in the red carpet thing where you get your picture taken with celebrities going into a club in Vegas. And there are pictures of him with the Agalovs in the club that night that were on Instagram. This club, as it turns out, was infamous for its, let's just say, extreme sort of sexual pageant.
Matt has put up the excerpt on the screen right now, and it says the club featured semi-nude women performing simulated sex acts of bestiality and grotesque sadomasochism, skits that a few months later would prompt a Nevada state judge to issue an injunction barring any more of its lewd and offensive performances. Among the club's regular acts cited by the judge was one called Hot for Teacher, in which naked college girls simulate urinating on a professor. In another act, two women disrobe, then one female stands over the other female and simulates urinating while the other female catches the urine in two wine glasses.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that rang any bells with you.
Well, it did. Not one I'd like to talk about. I mean, I've had some... Great work. I really liked it.
I wasn't suggesting that, Sam.
I was super surprised about the 2 wine glasses. That was the part that I really. Yeah. Okay. So maybe now, when ostensibly did this? Did the P tape supposedly happen? When did that?
Well, this act, the act. Nobody knows whether they performed the golden showers routine that night,
right.
But they had. It was during the period when they were performing the golden showers routine. It was after that the Miss Universe pageant was held, and that Trump was in Moscow, and ostensibly, according to the Steele dossier, there were people who said that this event where the girls urinated on the bed that the Obamas had slept in happened. Now, I don't. Maybe this is all coincidence, but it occurs to me that if the Agalovs were there and they saw Trump, and who knows what Trump might have said to them about this particular thing,
that's
or
my
whether
favorite
they observed
scene.
him being deeply interested in this particular thing, or what. But it just seems to me, and I'm sure that Isikoff and Korn both put it in the book for this purpose, which is to
right.
sort of, look. So you've got Trump who is going to great lengths to shut down any discussion with an adult film star who is, as I said, undoubtedly not sexually shy or one who would, be unwilling to do certain things. Then you have this, and then you have the rumors about him in.
I see where you're going. So
Moscow.
You're suggesting that maybe the concern is that Stormy Daniels is going to talk about one of the things she's done was pee in a cup or something like that.
Exactly.
But here's why I think it's possible, but here's why I'm a little skeptical that that's the reason why they've been so adamant about her, because in October when they first kept her quiet, there was no wide awareness of the P tape, was there? Wasn't this something that came out after the election? And so the urgency to keep Stormy Daniels from talking predates the public awareness of the P story. And I think it was coincidental with the election because that's when people were interested in talking to Stormy Daniels. We already know the stuff about the affair. That's why I'm convinced it's a prenup thing. With Trump, I just think at the end of the day, the guy's so shameless. It's just always about money. And I think it's just, he's afraid it's going to cost him money.
Well, I'm sure that's true too. I mean, I'm sure that's true too. I just have a feeling that, there's some reason to believe that, and I don't care, by the way, I don't care what his sexual habits are. It really is. In fact, the mere thought of it is repulsive to me to even contemplate it on any level. But I could imagine that being something that he wouldn't want to come out, regardless of whether or not the Steele dossier was known. Now, presumably, if this did happen in Moscow, Trump knows it happened in Moscow. And Trump knows probably that they know it happened, if it did.
Right.
So I would, this may have been in the back of his mind, regardless of the Steele dossier or the Russian investigation, that this thing that's out there is something that he has to be aware of. In any case, look, just think about what we're talking about here. We have a president who is so open to blackmail on so many different levels from so many different people that it's impossible to know what his motivations are for anything, not to mention the fact that he's greedy and corrupt.
Right.
So whatever he does, we can never assume he's doing it out of anything other than some kind of personal motivation, for his own or his family's benefit. And I mean, I've never seen anything like this. But that is, of course, the oligarch model, isn't it?
Right, of course. And the other part of that model is like all of my family's in on it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're gonna have like all the kids.
Exactly.
And if we could get the grandkids in this, like sort of like a 529 type of program. Except you don't have to use it for education, but it's all tax free.
Yeah, I mean, look at what's happening with the son-in-law. I mean, his favorite daughter. She kind of, she married she married someone very much like her daddy. I
Yep.
mean, big surprise, right?
Yep.
And, we've got all this stuff with Jared. And, I mean, the story that came out about him actually having meetings in the White House with people who later gave his family $500 million, that's billion with a B, $500 million in loans. And this was not something that you would have expected from this particular group.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest loans they had ever given, I think, if not the biggest. Look, government's just another way of saying coincidence. That's all. All right. Well, lastly, listen, we're running a little late here, but I just catch us up on the seashells thing, because that also is pretty extraordinary. I mean, Eric Prince is another one of these guys who he and Bannon were trying to pitch the administration actively, the military, of like privatizing the entire force in Afghanistan and paying for it by essentially extracting all of the natural resources to the extent that there are any in Afghanistan, I guess through mining. Having that direct, basically setting up a private army. It is, their idea was, I almost want to say it was like a remedial, like it was like a throwback to the Roman Empire. Like it was so basic.
Oh, it was. It literally was.
Which is not to say
Prince was pitching it. He pitched it as the British East India Company with himself, and he called himself viceroy. I mean, he literally did that.
Yeah, at least now there's more nuance when we invade a country, and there's like pretense. This was just sort of like full on extraction model, and but it turns out so. Just walk me through this very briefly before we go. What supposedly happened in the Seychelles, and why is that important?
Well, I will say right up front that I don't know what the nefarious deeds that may have happened at the Seychelles were, but we knew about this meeting some months back. That Eric Prince, who is much closer to the Trump family than I think people understood. Prince was with the family on election night in their private suite. He and his wife were there. She Instagrammed it. So they have a very close relationship. And Eric has been all over this administration in various ways, right? I mean, he's sort of their dark ops guy, I think. And during this period in the transition when Kushner's meeting with Russians, Sessions is meeting with Russians, Flynn is talking to Russians, it's Russians everywhere. Prince takes off for this meeting in the Seychelles Islands with the Crown Prince or an emissary from the Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates, which, by the way, is where Prince lives, so he didn't have to go to the Seychelles to meet them. A representative of a Russian bank, and this guy by the name of George Nader, who had been some kind of a player in Middle East politics back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Then he kind of disappeared. Nobody knew what happened to him, and suddenly he showed up again. He has it's just been reported this last week that Nader came to the United States in January. He was stopped at the airport by the FBI, where they took his electronics, questioned him for hours, as he was on his way to Mar-a-Lago to celebrate the first year of the Trump administration, which was kind of a private party. That wasn't something that everybody in the country was invited to, right? Yep. So George Nader, he gets stopped by the FBI. He is now cooperating with Mueller and has testified before the grand jury. We don't know why, but it has been reported that he said that meeting was arranged as a back channel between the Trump administration and the UAE and the Russians. That the UAE was the sort of the go-between. And this guy Nader was go-between too. Now, what's significant about that is that Eric Prince lied his ass off about it before the House Intelligence Committee and said, it's all just a coincidence, another coincidence. Just happened to be there. We had, we ran into each other. I had a drink. It was half an hour. That was that. Just total coincidence. There was nothing planned about it. This guy Nader, to the extent we know what happened there, it's that this was an actual planned meeting for a back channel. Now, what we don't know is why they wanted this back channel. And there's a lot of speculation that this had to do, since there was a Russian banker involved, that this may have had to do with money being funneled into the Trump campaign from the Russian government, and that this was the meeting at which the quo for the quid was being discussed. What do we need from you? We helped you out. We did what we said we were going to do. We got the dirt on Hillary. We did the Facebook stuff. Now this is what we need in return. And at least that's what's being speculated. And we don't know why they wanted these back channels. This is a very, very big open question.
That's the equivalent of that moment when one of the little old widows in the producers knocks on the door and asks Max Bialystock, our play is a hit. Where's our money? That's basically it, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And, no one expected to win, but, they got it. And so here we go. So, and so there are many open questions. But the big question is, they wanted all these back channels in the transition. The Trump administration was going to be in the White House within weeks. There was no reason for them to be doing that, especially the way that they went about doing it. And then they all lied about it. They lied about it to everybody.
It didn't happen. I would love Prince to go to jail for anything.
Oh,
and
me too.
Nobody deserves it more than that dude, frankly. Well, maybe there's others who deserve it more, but he's certainly way up there.
He's up there.
All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for wrapping up the week and catching me up on a couple of stories. I mean, these days it's just impossible to follow all of it, and I appreciate your walking us through that. Have a great weekend. Get some rest.
You too, Sam. Thanks.
Right,
my pleasure. Talk to you later.
All right, folks, check out Hullabaloo every day. And, of course, Heather's writing on salon.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Andy Kindler will be here. And, not here. He'll actually be not only across the country, but in a different country. 646-25. What am I? All right, we're not quite there yet. That is a cliffhanger. You're going to find out in a moment. We'll be right back.
There are nights when I think that South Paradise was right. Boys and girls in America, they're such a sad time together. Sucking off each other at their demonstrations, making sure their makeup's straight. Crushing one another with colossal expectations, depending on discipline, sleeping late. She was a really cool kisser, and she wasn't all that strict of a Christian. She was a damn good dancer, but she wasn't all that great of a girlfriend. Here I so often feel on his side of all the dehydration. Most nights are crystal clear, but tonight it's like he's stuck between stations. On the radio. Devil and John Berry, when they took a walk together and they ended up on Washington talking to the river. He said, I surrounded myself with doctors and deep thinkers, but they've had some soft bodies think for lousy.
We are back. Sam Seder. This is the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a casual Friday. And one of the ways that we inject a little adrenaline, the way that we put Casual Friday on steroids, it's like Casual Friday on acid, as we play this tune.
With a Jew like Andy Kindler, you know you can't go wrong. His ancestors wrote the God Bless America song. A true Obama bot, and he believes Obama can never be wrong.
You're damn right he can,
Yeah,
kids.
and Kindler.com. You made me laugh so hard, I had to write you your theme song. Andy Kindler.
Wow. Wow, you are on fire today.
Yeah,
Andy.
I took a. I'm studying with Sam Harris, not the conservative idiot, but the old singer from the show America. What's that show? God damn it, I'm off. What was the show with Ed McMahon?
You were so the Johnny Carson show?
No, Star Searcher. There was a guy named Sam Harris, and he sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." So one day I was mad at Sam Harris, and I sent the wrong Sam Harris the thing, and he blocked me. like, does he really think I thought he was an anti-Muslim bigot?
Wait a second. So you were launching a broadside at Sam Harris, the anti-Muslim bigot, but instead you launched it to Sam Harris, the elderly singer from Community Audition or whatever it was.
Oh, he's the guy who is the Lawrence Krauss apologist. Sort yourself out, Bucko.
Wow.
Do you know that one?
No. What is it? What is that?
Sort yourself out, Buck. It's because you're a Jew with glasses, which cues cock behavior
Oh my God! Is this
in a
Mandela?
primitive history.
No, that's not.
No, I can't do the Peterson voice yet, but I do like the idea of Mandela Peterson, which is like, clean your room. Why do girls wear rouge? It's an evolutionary cue. What happened to the individual? I just look at these young men masturbating and I get so sad.
Andy, you realize, Andy, that we have a crisis of masculinity in this country, right?
Just in my pants.
Well,
is that not good? I should have waited on that.
No, that's
okay,
why I wanted to make this a little bit, every week that we have you on. We don't have you on every week, but we would love to. But
did you sound frightened?
But when we do have you on,
I have you recorded, Sam. You clearly said to your viewers that you would have me on every week. Wrong?
Now, Andy, we have you on. Whenever we have you on, it's always a non-confrontational interview.
Right. I don't like that. I don't like confrontation. I don't like talking about people and Louis C.K.
That's right. And we have no confrontation. However, we're going to call you to the carpet today.
Oh, no.
We're going to do...
no.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is it my comeuppance?
Well, it very well may be. I'm sure you're familiar with Chad Prather. He's a comedian. You're a comedian.
No, I don't know Chad. Should I? Is he on that right-wing station with the YouTube Right? It's called, or YouTube?
No,
Conservative?
Chad Prather is a comedian and conservative blogger who is on tour, talking about how there is bemoaning the triumph of the beta male, and here he was on Fox and Friends. And here he is on Fox and Friends getting interviewed, talking about a problem that, frankly, Andy, and I'll let you have the word after the clip.
You mean you'll see me on the other side?
I'll see you on the other side of this because I think when we're talking about the problem of the beta male in America today, you've got to be at ground zero for one of the reasons, one of the problems. All right, here we go.
Mind is blown on this thing. Can you believe this? I mean, where is culture going at this point? Why is there such a war on masculinity? There is. I mean, the worst thing you can be in America today is a white heterosexual Christian male. I mean, there's an all-out war on people.
Pause it. I mean, just for folks, I just want to clarify. Masculinity is white Christian male.
Yeah, that's the new thing.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand why there is just such a battle just to be masculine. Why is it? And then you're offensive if you are. I mean, I'm going to have people who are going to get on here. They're going to see the little segment that we put on Twitter or whatever and they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, it's a guy in a cowboy hat. What does he know?" Well, tonight you'll probably eat meat, and a guy in a cowboy hat probably raised that cow. So it's just.
Well,
it's okay to be a man.
Well, and being masculine doesn't mean you can't be a gentleman. When I first met you, when you came on set, I loved it. You shook my hand and you tipped your hat.
Did
not.
Oh,
God. It was so cute. I'm married. You won't believe this. I'm married to a lumberjack, a professional lumberjack. And
wow.
And he happens to be a congressman. But I married him because
wow, what a skill. What
I don't think women really like that beta male thing. What's up with that?
You know what women like? They like men. They like men that are men and men that are confident in being men. Yes. And I'm giving you permission right now, America. Be masculine. If you're a man, there's no what's the word? Misandry? We talk about misogyny. Mm-hmm. What is the word? Is it misandry? Where you have man haters. These people that are so men can't speak their mind. They can't make jokes. They can't burp and scratch themselves. It's okay, boys. Scratch yourselves.
Just not right now.
I'm not sure. I
Not on
like
Fox.
Now, Andy, I'm going to put it to you right now. Chad Prather has given you permission to be masculine. Why won't you be?
Well, let me ask you a question, Sam. The way he says masculine, does he sound a little fey to you? Am I right?
I think what you guys are most...
That's Southern. I think you're mixing up Southern.
Is he a little light in the loafers,
yeah.
as Johnny Carson used to say?
Also, Southern guys are gay. That is number one. But number
that guy
two...
is so gay, I wanted to sleep with him just on the basis of that monologue.
Well, is it?
But Andy, here's the question. Wait a second. I just want to get to this. Do you think that you could ever project yourself as a masculine man, being as Jewy as you are?
Well, this is right in my wheelhouse, Sam, because I do wear cowboy hats, and I do wear spurs, and I do square dance around the city every morning, and people think I'm gay.
What I'm thinking, I just think it's the most alpha behavior possible, if we're being objective, is to get makeup put on, go into a studio in Midtown Manhattan, and bitch and whine about not being able to be a man. That's what Dirty Harry would do. If he would be like, I don't have time to solve cases.
Well,
I have to do a YouTube series. Please like my page, support me on Patreon. Like the page, thank you.
To be fair,
who's buying this?
No
one likes this guy, right? Nobody follows this guy, though, right? He's not like a popular dude.
Dude, what are you talking about? He's on TV.
He's like Richard Spencer. Is he Richard Spencer? Famous?
To be fair, Dirty Harry also wearing makeup.
Right. Oh, fair. Good point. Good point.
Only that's the only.
I know. I just loved like the new brand of like these guys who it's like like self-claimed alpha males spend their entirety like bitching on media
This
platforms.
is not even new.
It's the most jacked male behavior imaginable.
I got a call on back when Air America, back in 2006, where and I remember Rush Limbaugh at that time talking about the wussification and the feminication of men. And
Rush
it was
Limbaugh?
Yes, and it was the harbinger of this was Dick Durbin wearing a pink tie on the floor of the Senate.
Dick Durbin's a homo.
It kind of reminds me of the talk we had with Richard Wolff yesterday, where he's like, if capitalism is so confident that it's the greatest system on earth, why not allow some more options and people can choose?
There you go.
It's like,
hello, goodbye democracy, hello communism. Come on, kids.
I mean, but also not for nothing, the Hollywood Reporter cover that triggered this whole incident was actually, it was called The Triumph of the Beta Male, and it featured the men from the show Silicon Valley. And I would just like to point out that those guys are dicks as well, and not particularly feminist in their reputation.
The era of the pajama boy is over.
There you go.
Oh my God!
So
I'm starting to learn so many things about. Ever since that Louis C.K. thing, I'm learning so many negative things about comedians that I never thought were possible.
What do you mean, like Chad Prather?
Oh, I wasn't talking about.
No, I'm talking about Louis
actors.
C.K. I can't stop talking about him, so I figured I'd continue.
You can draw a direct line from that little midget's pink tie on C-SPAN to those bastards on Variety.
It's a little person.
All right, Andy, I want to get into...
What's the matter? What are you, a dwarf?
I want to get into some Dennis Miller stuff that we have
Oh, he's back. He's back, everybody.
Yeah, he's back. He is back. Now, before we do that, first, tell me, where are you? What are you doing? Where are you spreading your beta-ness?
I'm so glad because you don't give me nearly enough chance to plug my gigs, and it's very disturbing to me. I'm in Vancouver. Right? Or when I get here, I kill and I call it Bankcouver. You know what I'm saying? When I hit the stage,
I don't get it. Bankcouver.
Like I'm killing. I'm money in the bank. You could take that to the bank, like Beretta used to do before he killed someone.
No, I remember. He didn't kill anybody. He was a cop.
No. He went back to get his gun. That's right. I'm sorry.
Okay. So wait. So you're in Bankcouver, which you call it that way because you make so much bank there. Is that
well,
it?
I thought it meant more like killing. I thought it was like I kill.
Now,
maybe it's a bad joke. It's just a bad joke.
I was going to say, is this the type of comedy routine that people can expect if they come out tonight in Bankcouver?
Well, I'm part of here the JFL Northwest, and I'm hosting the alternative show. And I think that if
Oh, is that
people
right?
come
Is
out,
there a Just for Laughs
it's a Just for Laughs joint.
Ah, okay.
The people, I've found now that people are vastly disappointed with what they thought the show would be. But then when they see my, get up and go-ness.
Who's on that show tonight? Like who's doing alternative comedy in Just for Laughs West? I mean, do I know? You don't know.
Oh, you want like names?
Well,
you want me to prove?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just curious because I have no.
Okay, who's on the
I'm
show
so out of-
tonight is Charlie Demers, who's great.
Don't know.
Rhea Butcher?
Nope.
You know her. She's married to Cameron Esposito. Why do I sound like an old booker? Todd Barry's on the show.
Who?
Todd Barry. He's a small Jewish.
No, I know Todd. Of course, I know Todd. I didn't realize.
Katie Ellen Humphreys and Graham Clark, who's the best.
I don't. Man, I'm so out of it. I just know Todd. Everybody else.
Yeah,
must
but
be
why
the
should you know everything? I mean, this is you don't have time.
No, I don't have time for that. I don't have time.
You're changing the world.
And yes, and let's continue to do that by slagging Dennis Miller.
That's right.
Saving the world this way. Okay, this is a clip of Dennis Miller. If you could just ease it up just a little bit so I can see the date on this. This is him at the Kravis Center.
It's an ad for he's coming to the Kravis Center.
Oh, I see. Okay.
January 23rd, 2008.
And this is when it went up. So he's coming to the Kravis Center. This is the show that's going on. He's back on the road, Andy.
Oh no, this
Killer
is so
new
great.
material. Check
I'm
this
going to follow him like the Grateful Dead.
Here you go.
5-time Emmy Award winner, known for his sharp, edgy wit.
Our education system in California, we got problems there. Any female teachers watching the show tonight, you got to quit dating the students. When I was 14 years old, my teacher wouldn't let me bang the erasers.
Look out for Dennis Miller, serving up his refreshingly outspoken take on today's hottest topics at the Kravis Center, March 31st at 8 p.m.
That was what they picked.
The only joke.
That was what they picked.
Is that a thing?
That was what they picked as the best.
That was it.
That was the sizzle to get you to buy a ticket.
Which one should we put on the sizzle reel? How about the bang erasers? That one always kills.
Sometimes he would faint, Dennis Miller. He was so excited about the reference that he couldn't even get through the premise. He was so excited. I'm going to say bang the erasers tonight, choo-choo. Watch the reaction.
Wow, that is. I imagine that thing sold out big time. You know what I like too is that they're laughing through his setup. Well, you just want to play that again. Like you can hear them laughing as he's doing the setup.
Well, that's not real. That can't be real laughing.
No,
right?
of
That sounds
course
like
not.
like
Of
a can of comedy that was produced in '52.
Hold on, wait a second. Yeah, go right.
Sad laughter I meant. Guys, I'm not on my game. It's the morning. I get funny in the afternoon.
Any female teachers watching the show tonight, you got to quit dating the students. When I was 14 years old, my teacher wouldn't let me.
There you go.
I think that might be a track.
That's a fake thing. There's not even in a
not.
room. I mean, I can't see on my thing. Is he live?
Oh yeah, he was live. He was live when he was delivering that.
What a horrible tour. I'm opening up for him too, and I am so not looking forward to this.
You're not opening up for Dennis.
No,
Miller. Of course not.
When have I ever said anything?
It's like
sincerely?
teaches.
All right, so now this.
You like Bathsheba.
When is this from, Matt? Just to scroll down.
Stop it.
Okay, this was from January.
He's back. He's trying to. You can tell he's trying to get
well,
back.
This is now 2.5 months ago, but he needed to hype it before he went on the road. This is Dennis Miller. His take on Snowflake Generation. Apparently, this is Adam Carolla has a new movie. Has that come out yet? Generation Snowflake.
You talking about when they go to the college campuses?
Yeah.
With the funniest man in show business, Dennis Prager.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, that's the guy who's going onto the thing to say why safe spaces. I don't think it's ever going to be made. That's my prediction. It will never be made.
Oh, okay. So this is just a promo for Generation Snowflake.
Yeah.
I see. And the movie hasn't been made yet. This is what it's like.
They're just.
It's an Indiegogo or something.
Yes, they're literally playing this promo, and then they're just going to build a segment. So we're going to go from this horrifying promo to Stuart Varney and Dennis Miller talking about how great the promo is.
Now, you should know, hold on for 1 second. You should know that it's a series of college students in front of essentially what amounts to either a green screen or a large television with like images of academic looking buildings behind them.
It's not based in reality. It's based on your reality.
Wait, hold on a second.
Hold on, pull it back. We got to start at the beginning of this, man. Don't cheat us out of hearing all the Generation Snowflake people. It starts with Bob De Niro.
Because it's not just what he says; it's how he says it.
Crazy. In movie terms, when you started school, the country was an inspiring, uplifting drama. You're graduating into a tragic, dumbass comedy.
Our commitment to diversity means that nobody graduates until they think just the right way.
At Utopia University, there are no violent words to hurt me. I will punch you if you're a fascist.
I'm going to be the next Che Guevara.
We speak out against privilege.
We've checked our privilege.
Welcome to Utopia U.
A wonderful place to learn that everything your parents taught you is wrong.
It's all here at Utopia U, man.
It's not based in reality. It's based on your reality.
Wait, hold on a second. That campus doesn't really exist, does it? That doesn't even look like parody to me. You could run that after Don Lemon's show on CNN, and it would just play like a commercial.
I think Mr. Corolla is onto something.
Hold on, pause it for 1 second.
Who's this guy?
Now
I can see it now.
Now it's Stuart Varney. The take on that, I guess that was a parody, is what they're calling it, and so now.
Oh yeah, because did they make the sound of the record stopping, or was that you?
No, that was them. It was like that was Corolla interrupting, going like, "Hey, wait a second. This isn't real. I thought it was."
I like how he even came out with like that's not even like a joke. It's like real.
You know where they're shooting this?
Where?
This is, now that I'm looking at it, it's the image of Corolla, and Corolla had a second house in L.A. years and years ago. I imagine he has another one, and this must be his man cave because he's got the old man show sign behind there and a couple of video games. So he's doing this in his own house.
I'm so surprised about that.
Yeah.
Divergent fortunes.
Here we go.
Jimmy Kimmel, Adam Carolla. Jesus Christ.
And here is, let's get to the Stuart Varney segment with...
he's the new Jack Parr. He's his new Jack Parr.
Dennis Miller.
I think Mr. Corolla is onto something. He's going after the PC movement on colleges, which, frankly, Dennis, really does drive me insane. Do you remember Mario Savio in California, the free speech movement at Berkeley? He started it when students were demonstrating for free speech, and look at it now. I think it's incredible.
Well, listen, first off, I'd have to say I like the pedigree on that project because I think Adam Carolla is the Will Rogers of his generation, and I think Dennis Prager's in there, too. And I can definitely assure you that as far as astute social observers named Dennis, he's the best of them. But I would say that I find it ironic that colleges are now in such lockdown. You know, you realize, Stuart, Jesus Christ could appear on a college campus right now and change water into wine, and he would be frog walked off by the campus cops because he killed some microorganisms in the wine.
Oh, God. This guy is so terrible.
From the greatest generation to the
Hold on, wait a
greatest.
second. So Jesus could show up at college, turn water into wine, and he would get frog marched off of campus because he killed some microorganisms in the wine?
I guess that's like news to all of the animals that are scientifically tested on every single college campus in America.
Why would microorganisms in the wine be killed?
Because
it's amazing. These guys have not ever been on a college campus. What do you think Dennis Miller is doing research on college campuses, like hiding behind trees and hearing how the kids talk? They're just liars. They're just liars. They've made up. I went back to my school where I did comedy. Right? Not comedy. Where I went to school, Binghamton. Yeah. These kids were edgier than, well, not edgy, but none of what I heard was going to happen was true.
That all the warning that you had about how you'd be drummed off campus if you said anything too risque?
Well, no, I'm being honest. This is the first campus I've been back to since college, so I'm not like these idiots who know nothing. They literally, can you imagine Adam Carolla strolling around campus? I mean, it's just complete lies.
I could definitely see Adam Carolla getting frog marched off of a college campus, but that would have very little to do with any like humor.
Right, exactly.
I can see a lot of scenarios.
What does that mean, frog? I heard Joseph Wilson say that years ago.
It's
Frog
like
march.
the perp walk.
Oh,
You
okay.
frog march, I think, because you're chained. I'm not exactly sure.
Actually, they wouldn't frog march Jesus off of a campus because he was Arab. So,
All right.
you stand corrected.
There were a lot of Muslims around that.
There were a lot of Muslims that they got along, and Jesus was very cool with them.
We have a third clip now
great.
of Dennis Miller. He's on the Hammer and Nigel show. This is, what's the date on this? This is just from like literally a week and a half ago. He's talking, and it's an exclusive that they have. He talks about...
Exclusive from the Kravitz Center.
Dennis Miller talks Twitter, Dems, and Indy. And I guess Indy, maybe this is from Indianapolis.
Indiana.
Oh, Indiana?
Indianapolis
Okay.
or whatever, yeah.
Weekend Update guy, longtime SNL alum, started some movies. At what point did you kind of find yourself sort of disagreeing with some of the philosophies that were coming out of Hollywood and California in general?
Pause it for 1 second, because I thought he was going to say, at what point did you find your career was completely over? When did that happen?
At what point did you realize that you were at best a fourth string guest for Bill O'Reilly, who you knew eventually that was going to blow up? I would love that. The astute Midwestern AM host. Sort of like, did you realize that your comedy, what seemed somewhat innovative in the 80s, seemed redundant and annoying with dated references now? Your response, Dennis Miller.
There's a couple things. I know the left looks at Hillary and they hear, trumpets in the back. I don't get that. I don't look at, to me, Pelosi is in more over her head than a gay dwarf hitting on Shaq. She never shuts up.
That is the greatest
Occasionally have to
reference I've ever heard.
So you can get some sleep at night.
Wait a second. Pause it. First off, it sounds to me like it sounds like he's speaking on a speakerphone, but the response to that question, I'm wondering if it's actually Dennis Miller or if they didn't do one of those things like when people call in with the recording. Go back to let's hear the question with the response, because it doesn't seem to be, it seems to be like, oh, they're going to ask you a question about politics. All right, just play this. It seems like almost like the Dennis Miller doll. Play it.
Agreeing with some of the philosophies that were coming out of Hollywood and California in general.
There's a couple things. I know the left looks at Hillary and they hear, trumpets in the back. I don't get that.
He's
laughing. To me, Pelosi.
No, it can't be the Dennis Miller doll, because the Dennis Miller doll did have completed
No,
sentences.
I know it's not the Dennis Miller doll, but it sounds
So you're
like
saying they're just generic? It's generic questions,
But
right?
the first
generic
part,
questions, and he just recorded some like generic criticism.
and he he pre-recorded.
That's what I think
they look
it is.
at Hillary Clinton and Trump's in the background. Jack's dick over a dwarf's head. That's literally what he just said.
The question was, when did you first realize that you didn't agree with the Hollywood philosophy? And he goes, the left looks at Hillary Clinton with trumpets in the background. He's not answering the question.
Well, guys, maybe he'll bring it home to Lance.
All right, let's see.
Pelosi is in more over her head than a gay dwarf hitting on Shaq. She never shuts up. It's just occasionally you have to hood her like a falcon so you can get some sleep at night. She's always standing there with that come dither look, blinking away like she's signaling the Carpathia. She hit an iceberg. I'd see her with a speaker of the House gavel. I'd feel like Heston waking up in the field and the chimp was on top of the pony.
He came up with come dither before that show. He thinks that's funny to take come hither and say Hillary, when she does it, she's come dither. What right-wing idiot is going to like this guy? What is he doing that's going to like him?
I don't even understand. There's no way Hammer and Nigel got that joke, incidentally, either. They're just... Go ahead.
go through life looking like you're perpetually witnessing the docking of the Hindenburg.
Oh, God. Current.
And they talk about Hillary. What's Hillary got going for her, except the fact she was hoping women would vote for her because they know that she's been cheated on more frequently than a blind woman playing Scrabble with gypsies. When I look at this,
With who?
Gypsies.
A blind woman playing Scrabble with 50 cents. Is that what he said?
No, with gypsies.
Oh, I thought he was bringing 50
You
cents
know,
into
all
it.
those gypsies who love to cheat at Scrabble.
And let me tell you, I'm gayer than the lollipop kids off the set during The Wizard of Oz back in Culver City with an orgy on the third floor section with a tenement.
That made more sense. The common problem in impersonating Dennis Miller, your tangents making more sense. I prefer depressed Dennis Miller.
Let's keep hearing
Bring
this a
that
little more.
back.
Go ahead.
They were celebrating too many idiots over there. Now, I know the guys on the right are like doofuses. They're like the town elders from Footloose. But I can't wake up every day and watch a guy like Trump and have people say that he's Adolf Hitler. And I just can't play that game anymore. He's not like Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler's like Adolf Hitler.
Oh, that's
Dennis,
very
do you
smart.
miss the grind
he
of
finally
the
hit upon
daily
us
radio
that
show?
He knows that the one person's not the other person.
Hey, guys.
Wait, I want to
let's
hear
play
this
the Hitler.
because
no,
he
there's
didn't
no more
answer
politics.
that question at all about when you first found out that you went.
That was it.
All right, let's hear the next one. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, that was it? It's over?
Well, no, there's more.
Thank
There's no more
God.
politics. Go ahead. If you want to see what it transitions to
I'm just
now.
curious. Yeah, I just want to see because I'm just not convinced that this was a live Dennis Miller. I think it was
That be a rickshaw driver in Beijing. And that, I missed that too when I was a bareback rickshaw driver that they used to hit with a wet piece of balled up rope. What are you kidding?
See, but this is what we miss every day of this.
Right,
3
right.
hours of Dennis
Yeah.
Miller every day.
No, I did 8 years, and I said, man, I was starting to like callers.
Now he's actually responding to the thing. So.
So it's real. So it's real, isn't it, Sam?
It turns out to be real. That makes it even worse, I think.
It was real, Jew Jones.
It would be super awesome if he did that. I mean, like where he just did all these morning interviews around the country with just sort of like 5 different pre-taped answers, whatever the question was.
So Dennis, how long are you going to be in town for?
I'm gonna be here for as long as the Boogie Nights version director's cut.
Dennis,
I've
how are
been
you?
here longer than Methuselah's hair when Rapunzel. That's what I hope happens to him. I hope that he just starts losing it like that.
Matt,
He
did
just-
you have-
It's
Did you have one, Matt? No, he didn't have
God,
one.
he's going to use that 5 more times, too.
Well, let's hear it. I can't get enough of it personally.
What's
Wait,
that?
do we have
Wait,
another one?
What do we use? No, that's it, right? Oh, do we have one more?
Apparently, we have one more.
Oh, come on. This is gold.
Wait, now when was this? When is this one from?
This is February
Wow,
21st.
this is only a couple of weeks ago, and it's I guess is this the Independence? Is this Duff? Is that Kennedy? Kennedy, not Duff.
Kennedy, yes.
It's Kennedy.
Duff?
It was another VJ.
Duff is not. Duff's a nice person.
Duff is a nice person.
Duff's a good
This
guy.
is Kennedy, and apparently Dennis Miller is on to talk about how Kathy Griffin wants to host the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Have a hard time convincing Kathy Griffin the president is good for a comedian's career. Kathy is refusing to quit while she's behind and has offered to host the White House Correspondents' Dinner if the president attends this year's event. Organizers have yet to respond because they're hoping to book someone more likable, like Kim Jong-un. Joining me now to discuss the president's effect on comedy, a man who would make a perfect host for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, comedian and legend, Dennis Miller. You're back. I'm so glad you've returned.
Thanks for having me, Kennedy. I don't know if you've ever done that press corps dinner, but that is an uptight crowd. A lot of sticks up, a lot of tookuses there.
Did you
That's
do it, Dennis?
absolutely right,
No.
especially in terms of the president. So if they hired someone like Kathy Griffin to be the MC, she would obviously go after the president. It might be entertaining and satisfying for leftist mainstream journalists, but would the president attend?
I think that's one thing about Trump. I think he's, I don't know, appropriate he ran in the GOP because an elephant never forgets. And I think he knows she's scrambling right now, and I don't think he's going to be her Stargate back into back into the cool kid group. I think what happened with Kathy Griffin is she made a bad tactical error.
Yeah.
I hung out with her one day at the Aspen Comedy Festival. She's cool. She's got great chops. She made a bad tactical error there because, they held up too many heads on YouTube. So to hold the head up was just bad commerce, and she's scrambling now. And of course she'd want to get back in there. I think that would help her, but I'm not sure Trump's willing to help her.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And it reminds me of Rosie O'Donnell dressing up to play Steve Bannon for SNL, and SNL did not ask her to play that character, oddly enough. So there's obviously anti-Trump mood in comedy right now. Is there any way to salvage that dinner, to make it entertaining, to put the president in the kind of light that I think is befitting a president? So the president's allowed to be self-deprecating and also allowing a comic to do
It feels like something went wrong with this interview, and Kennedy's like vamping for she was bummed that he didn't make a joke about and it's like, we got to scramble. Can you hear me? Like somebody's in her ear going like, we got to make this work.
Something awesome is happening here.
Oh, let's
Dennis Miller's depression is returning.
Okay, good.
This is a great segment. I'm
better.
very excited about it.
This is what you want. He's in his wheelhouse now.
Now we're back. Now we're getting back home.
And also allowing a comic to do what they do best. If not you, who?
Well, I wouldn't do it again. I did it once with Bush 41, and I just remember it being uptight. I got out alive, but I just remember the whole crowd, not Bush, not his wife, they're pretty cool, but the whole crowd is like clutching pearls, like it's like the day Murph the Surf, the jewel thief, checked into the Fontainebleau. Everybody was checking their pearls in the lobby. Very uptight crowd, so I wouldn't do it. But I would think that Kathy's not going to end up doing it. If I was Kathy, I would remember that at some point, it seems like Roseanne has had this light bulb go off.
Yes.
The hoi polloi are the people who pay for tickets. The other people, the people she pleased with the beheading shot, are people who always want comps. You got to play to the people who are willing to put cash on the barrelhead. And I think that's where Rosie's at right now. By the way, she looks great. Does she not look beautiful in all this press she's doing?
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a really smart move on her part, because it's very authentic that her character would be a Trump supporter. And that's what she's doing. She's honoring the character. And I think the most shocking thing you can do in comedy right now.
Her character would have been a Trump supporter?
So, it speaks to her ultimate aim. And also, I think it's really funny how much she hates Hillary.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Rosie started out, if you remember, when was she first on your radar? When she said that she was a domestic goddess. And I think if you go back to the last election and see who Trump did well with on the female side.
This could be the worst.
This is worse than a State of the Union.
Wow.
Was Kennedy this
I
brutal
like
when
Kathy
she
Griffin.
was?
She's kind of good. But she hurt her commerce. You don't want to hurt your commerce, babe. She's getting into her. You mean what she gets? That's not even a word that you would use. She's a working comedian. She doesn't do commerce.
He's like a lackluster drunk at a
She'll
bar.
really hurt her merchandise.
Yeah, sure. She used to have joint merchandise production deals, which she undermined in the cross-segment demo. But yeah, I did that gig 30 years ago. It was kind of boring.
It's worse than the boilerplate language in the SAG-AFTRA contract when it comes to ancillary rights.
I gotta say,
was Kennedy this
Dennis
brutal
Miller?
When she was introducing like Green Day videos, whatever the hell.
No, she's worse. She's so
boring.
terrible. I've bantered with her on Twitter. She's a horrible human.
I like how they just complained in the last segment about social justice warriors on campus who are like, oh, don't wear racist Halloween costumes, but they can't handle a little effigy decapitation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't
Triggered
befit.
much?
Doesn't befit.
Also, I really do appreciate Dennis Miller giving other comedians tactical career advice.
You got to stay current.
This guy,
you know what their problem is? Your references are out of date. You got to stay current with the references, like the A-Team.
You gotta attach yourself to a shooting star, a guy who's ascending like Billy O'Reilly.
Billy O'Reilly.
This might have been the right call back in like 2000 or whatever.
Right.
He actually did it.
Right.
Those were the days. It was 2003.
Oh man, I think it's something like I used to like to watch really bad comedy because it would make me laugh. Make me laugh because it was so bad. But now I can't watch bad comedy anymore. But I can watch. I could watch this. I really could watch this forever because it's just so. It's so intense, and it's just so far. If people knew what he was like in the 90s. I mean, I don't know if I could ever watch it again, but it's like a different human. Well, not a different human. I guess he was always a horrible man.
But
it does have a certain pathos to it.
it is interesting how he insists on going onto these shows, but also then be a, like a buzzkill.
I actually was wondering. I remember when we played that truly horrifying clip of Dennis Miller saying that if his tax dollars were going to go to sort of like minimal social investment, that he wanted to have like personal meetings with somebody getting unemployment.
Oh, right. Yes, I do remember.
And we've talked for ages about how sociopathic and bizarre and creepy and just weird that was. But the more I watch him, my empathy sort of grows, and I feel like he wants to have the personal oversight of his tax dollars so he can have a friend. He needs to socialize.
I'm spending tax dollars on you. Hang out with me. Have a nosh.
Come on, I'm giving you my tax dollars. Let's have a ring ding bar together, and you can tell me about your job interviews or something. I don't know.
Come on, I just want to get. I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah,
it's sort of like. I mean, it's sort of like Todd Berry a little bit. There's Todd always gets you to go out to eat with him. That was back in the day.
And it's a series of complaints. But the other thing is, Dennis Miller, he's not a bright person. I'm sorry to say it. I don't usually like saying that, although that was popular in my family. But he's covering up not a particularly perceptive mind with tons and tons of references. Because in the old days, Kevin Rooney would write for him. He had David Feldman. He had people who knew what they were talking about writing for him.
Right.
He doesn't know a thing.
No. He doesn't, and I think he's basically said, like, I don't have to anymore.
It's like Caligula. Yeah, that was like Saddam Hussein. Anyways, Bush needs to bomb everyone. I will take my Leno appearance now. That was the heyday.
Good luck with your truffles, France.
It's so terrible. But you know what? This is the whole thing that's weird. I remember arguing with right-wing people when I was a kid, and this is like off the chart. They have no argument now. They're just completely like, we're evil, and we just have to come up with a cover story of why we're evil. It's never been so disconnected from reality. And I remember the Gulf of Tonkin resolution.
Andy, what after you leave Vancouver, where do you go? Just go home for the rest of the year? Or what do you do?
I go home to field my calls from the weekend, and I go back. Now, but wait a second. I want to say, do you know that? Are you mocking me with that photo of me? Do you know where that photo is from?
No.
That you have?
No.
That's me on a show called Raising Dad as a mathematics teacher. And you knew that, right?
No,
you knew it was a horrible shot, though, right?
Did not know that.
I did not know that.
No, did not know it.
Look at that vest.
Would you like us to use a different photo?
I don't care. I really don't care because I kind of like looking at it.
I think you look cute.
All right, so Andy, honestly, let's do some plugs. After Vancouver, it's what, back to Orange County?
No, I'm in the Valley now.
No, I'm saying with your performances.
Oh, don't I have a person who has my schedule, or it's really bad? I'm doing the Montreal Festival this year.
Okay, when's that?
That's going to be at the end of July.
All right, and that's where you do your famous industry thing. You doing that again?
I'm doing that again.
State of the industry.
And I have. You know what I have now? I can't keep forgetting to plug what I have, and it's like it must be a great show if I won't talk about it. I have a podcast.
It is Thought
Spiral.
Thought Spiral.
Thought Spiral. Yeah, it's just me and my friend Josh, two Jews.
Now, what do you do when you're on the road? What do you do when you're on the road?
Yeah.
And we're doing me on the road. What?
No, when you're on the road, how do you do it?
Oh, I don't. I've only done it once on the road. Mostly on the road, I do with my comedies when I do on the road.
No, I understand.
No,
I'm saying if you're on the road.
No, we don't. No, I do it once a week. Here's what we do. It's once a week. It's Monday night. Josh literally lives 4 blocks away from me, so that's how we do it.
I love it.
Otherwise,
if
I had to operate the equipment, it would be over.
Andy,
it's a funny pod.
As always a pleasure.
I love you guys so much. I kind of go, why am I not in the studio at some point? I don't get it.
Because every time I find out you're in New York, I find out afterwards. You never tell me before.
I was there.
One of the Dennis Miller, I really do kind of want to go to one of those Dennis Miller concerts if I can. You don't have to pay for it, but I'll go.
Same. I'll go with
you. Let's make it happen.
It'd be great.
All right.
It'll be great. I love you guys.
Love you
too.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Andy Kindler, ladies and gentlemen. Andy Kindler. All right, we're going to take a quick break and
We
head in.
have a Jimmy Reefer Cake.
Oh, we do have a Jimmy Reefer Cake song? All right, let's play that. Folks, just a reminder, it is your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member today by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. Your membership makes the free show possible, and as a way of saying thank you, we give you extra content every day. Let's hear this Jimmy Reefer Cake song. Don't forget TMBS and Jamie's Patreon, and she's got her new podcast is up via the Patreon page at patreon.com/Jamie Peck. All right, here's Jimmy Reefer Cake song.
It's called Just Bashing Trump Won't Work. It's dedicated to Michael.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. I agree.
Happy Casual Friday, everybody. Hopefully, Brooks is not hosting, and you'll be able to hear my song this week. All this talk just bashing Trump is bringing them down. Oh no. They think it's all in the bag. Just look around. I fear the Dems are going down. But I hope they're thinking of me as they lay out their strategy. Just bashing Trump won't work. It just makes it worse. So I'm singing about legal weed again. Milk toast won't work. It just makes it worse. I'd support Tulsi Gabbard instead. But Brooksy in his bubble whining and jerking off to Kamala Harris. She used to laugh about weed because she used to need to kiss up to authoritarians. That's why Hillary didn't work. She just made it worse. So I'm singing about legal weed again. And when the DNC rigs the primary again, they'll blame it on Jill Stein and Putin. They're never gonna stop, no, no, no. Won't stop being hypocrites.
Wow, that is, here we go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
When he's good, he's good.
Yeah, I'm definitely, if I
Haunting.
ever have kids, I've got to have a collection of these songs if I'm ever concerned about their marijuana use. You don't want to end up like this.
Haunting. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, head into the fun half. We're going to have a fairly short fun half today, but still an extra like 40 minutes of material. Number 646-257-3920, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
C'est une poupée qui fait non. C'est une poupée qui fait non. Toute la journée, elle fait non. C'est une poupée qui fait non. Toute la journée, elle fait non. C'est une poupée qui fait non, 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 non. Toute la journée, elle fait non, 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 non. Elle est tellement jolie.
We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the fun half. So this is these high school students from Parkland High School. Still, I mean, really impressive in terms of how much they're continuing to drive a narrative. And this is following the vote in Florida, where the Florida legislature is instituting some fairly decent gun control reforms. It's nice to see at least some that are moving through the system. Here is Parkland High School student Sarah Chadwick, and she's doing a parody of the NRA spokeswoman Dana Loesch's threatening video for the NRA TV. Remember, you know, Dana Loesch is now like out there both simultaneously advocating for more guns to be in our society and crying about the fact that she is being mercilessly attacked. And of course, she's being smeared and viciously attacked for her vicious and smearing videos that she's been producing.
We have had enough of the lies, the sanctimony, the ignorance, the hatred, the pettiness, the NRA. We are done with your agenda to undermine the safety of our nation's youth and the individual voices of the American people. So to every government official unwilling to take action and make change, to everyone with an A+ rating from the National Rifle Association, to every spokeswoman with an hourglass who uses their free speech to alter and undermine what our flag represents, to the politicians who would rather watch America's youth die than get assault rifles off the shelves, to the manipulating lobbyists who think their political stances should be the only ones supported by legislation, to those who refuse to accept common sense gun safety as a bipartisan issue, to those who call high school students paid crisis actors and refuse to listen. Your time is running out. The clock starts now.
That is the parody, I guess, of Dana Loesch's really ridiculous. Do you have it up here so we can see that? Just sort of like, this is one of them.
Children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
The clenched fist of truth.
Oh, wow. It's so...
We've got to do more fisting!
In a certain sense.
I mean, she is right that us window smashing black blockers are operating on direct instructions from Hollywood liberals.
Absolutely,
Which
of course.
is ironic because she gets her wardrobe directly from like the most recent Underworld movie, I think.
I didn't see that movie. Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 267 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Here I am, God of the Hungarian Herman King.
Oh, hey, sorry, I was just jamming out to the hold music you got going. Anyway, this is Fran from Philadelphia, guys. Two quick things.
Yes.
First is a Netflix recommend. North and South. It's a 4-part miniseries that is basically Jane Austen with a critique of capitalism. It's amazing.
North and South. Okay.
It's North and South, yeah. It's based on an 1855 novel by someone named Elizabeth Gaskell, who was a contemporary of the Brontes and Charles Dickens, and it's central to the plot of the show is labor relations, strikes, and 19th century Northern England industrial squalor, cotton in particular. It's great. Highly recommended. Second thing, and then I'll go, is just a shout out to all the majority of reporters who have joined me at Left Flank Gaming, which is a new home for leftist gamers to make gaming political again, which of course it's never not been political, but many gamers just want to ignore that. I just made my third stream last night, posted to YouTube. I played a Napoleonic War simulator and talked about gun control, racial slurs on multiplayer games, and also some history and philosophy, specifically the revolutionary spirit and post-revolutionary reactions in the French and Russian revolutions. So it's like gaming and some knowledge dropped on you, maybe. Production quality is currently at some of the lowest imaginable levels, but we're working on it.
Awesome.
So follow me on Twitter,
sorry, I had a question for you. Do I have to know about video games to be able to appreciate this?
Hopefully that the goal is no. I mean, right now I'm like streaming like an hour and 10 minutes maybe of just me. It's mostly me playing a game very poorly and sometimes talking very poorly. But I have my lucid moments. But yeah, it's just like kind of chatting about what's ever on my mind at the moment, maybe, or what I actually see in the game while I'm experiencing it.
What is the name of your channel? Is it Left Flank
it's called
Gaming?
Left Flank Gaming.
Now I'm looking at it right now.
A one instead of an I. Tell me.
Oh, it's a one instead of an I because somebody else has Left Flank Gaming.
Yeah. We're expropriating their mark for the left. So I hope Bernie Sanders gets in power real fast to save us if something happens.
Gaming, and
right?
It's a one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, folks, check it out. There it is.
I'll check it out.
3 videos.
Yeah. Check out the Twitter. We've got a Discord where there's like a daily majority report listening and chat session. We even have. So even if you just join for that, follow me on Twitter, and I'll send you the Discord link. And yeah.
Sounds good.
So that's that.
Thanks for the call.
Take care.
Bye. Left Flank Gaming with an I. Calling from a 517 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam. This is Matt. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Matt. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I called in a while ago to talk about the nominating process in Michigan for, what do you call it, Secretary of States, governors, and attorney generals.
Okay.
So basically, in Michigan, I don't know how it works in other places, I said that the governors you didn't get a vote on, but you actually do get to vote in a primary in Michigan for governors and lieutenant governors. But for, sorry, driving, apologize.
This is pretty compelling stuff, dude. We gotta,
I know. Yeah, so for attorneys general and the Secretary of State, you have to go to the actual convention in Cobo Hall in Michigan to vote on any of that stuff, which is pretty inherently undemocratic. But
yeah.
I was just encouraging because anyone who wants to do that has to be a member of the Michigan Democratic Party. And there is a easy website to go to if you would like to be signed up without actually having to physically file paperwork, because that's like kind of.
All right, what's the website?
Michigan Democratic Party.
What's the website?
The website is michiganforrevolution.org dash mdpquery.html.
Wow. All right.
And there's still it's not an easy website.
This is almost like a parody.
On the blog that.
Yeah. All right.
But if you
/ go back.
We'll put a link there.
.org.
We'll put it.
/ There's plenty of time because it's not till April before that
/SOS
ceremony actually happens.
All right. Well, here's my recommendation.
We'll do it in
if you have anything to
2021.
do with that website, come up with a cleaner URL and have it forward to that site.
Backspace.
Appreciate the call.
.government -China double back.
Calling
then you put in the F key one time and then a period, and that will be good. And then we'll be meeting in 2023. So if you could just get all of that, that would be great. Thank you.
I'm reminded of this. It's not perfectly analogous, but I moderated an impeachment forum with John Conyers, Elizabeth Holtzman, Louis Lapham at, I think it was Town Hall, years ago. And afterwards, people came up to the stage and wanted to talk to us. And one woman said to me, we are doing protests. And would you mention it on the air? And I said, yeah. What's a website that people can go to get the information? She goes, no, that's part of the problem. And people need to get off of the internet. And I'm like, how am I going to tell people what am I going to say? Meet you in a subway station at like 4 p.m.? Like how, this is, and that it was a big argument.
You can't do it on the internet.
Calling from a 201 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I'll be there at 4 o'clock for 5 minutes. You find me.
201. 201.
Oh, hold on. Fuck. Hello?
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 Hi, yes. Am I on?
Yes.
Hi. My name is Norm, and I'm calling from Nebraska.
Hello, Norm from Nebraska. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm calling in because my cousin, Gregory from Oklahoma, has been a listener of your show, and he told me that you are very good on the phones, and he said I should call in.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Well, he says you asked what's on his mind, and I have a few things on my mind. Do you want to know what they are?
I want to know one thing. Just one. Not all of the things on your mind. Just the first.
I say let him do a couple.
What's on the top of your mind? The tippity top.
Well, today is the 4th anniversary of the first time I volunteered as an ambassador to Arbor Day here in Nebraska, which was founded in Nebraska City.
Sweet.
And
absolutely awesome.
What else?
And
what else you got on your mind?
What's the second thing on your mind?
What's the second thing?
Well, I just wanted to remind you, I heard that you were, you liked apples, and apples come from trees, and I figured maybe you would like to know when some upcoming Arbor Days are coming, because they are coming up, as you know.
Appreciate that. I can look online though, but I really do appreciate the call. Okay. If we had longer, I would let that go on for a long time. Calling from a 562 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? $562. Good day. Calling from a 928 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sam, what's good, man? This is the first time I've called, and it was actually you hosting and not my man Michael Brooks, man.
All right. Well, yeah.
And just to let you know, my name is NJPW. It's short for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And, I had just a couple of brief questions. For one, when it comes to Michael Brooks, I feel that you and him, as cool as y'all are, y'all actually might be a part of what I would like to, they have the alt-right, but you guys are actually might be a part of what I like to call the Yakubian left.
Okay.
But I'm still cool with y'all. Yeah.
I'll take it.
I appreciate that.
And but on the real, my actual question is this, and this is like a for real question. Today, I'm running a study group with some of the foster youth that I work with, and I want the best and most simple explanation that you could give, to explain the term neoliberalism, because simplifying it seems to be a little bit difficult. It's not something that's talked about like in a mainstream sense. And today I'm going to talk about that, just to, pass some time in the study hour.
The most basic sense is a person who has total faith in the market to deal with all problems that happen. And then even the problems that are created by the market, they want to come up with a market solution for that. I mean, the next level order of it is really, from a more academic perspective, is that they actually use the levers of government to enhance their the market in a specific way. And this is the second order. They realize that government does in fact always pick winners and losers, and they pretend that it shouldn't, while manipulating the government to pick a winner. So that's basically it.
Can I boil it down even further? I think it's an ideology. It's a system involving the transfer of power back to capital from labor.
Okay.
And all of the
that
things
makes sense. And I want to say once again, Jamie, I apologize. You don't smell like mayonnaise. I'm sure you smell like the finest perfumes on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Please
that's
forgive
very
me.
sweet.
Very sweet. Very sweet. Appreciate the call.
They were bathing themselves in filth while we smelled like the finest linen.
I wasn't mad about that.
Calling from a 660 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam. This is me, Dimitri from Missouri. It's been a while since I've called your show. What's up?
What's up, Dimitri? What's on your mind?
Oh, man. Is it okay if I rant a little bit? Because I have seen this going through my Facebook, and I thought enough is enough. I'm sure you remember about the Parkland shooting, right?
Yes.
The shooting that happened at high school a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And the kids, they went and they started speaking out against all this gun violence and wanted to take it to the legislators. Well, there's been a lot of people on my Facebook page that have been attacking these kids who being nothing but a bunch of dumb Tide Pod eating buffoons to stupid dumb kids that does nothing but just texting and driving. And I just had a bit of an argument with some of them, and it is just infuriating that these people just don't understand that these kids just want to keep the guns away from the crazy people and want more stricter background checks and more strict gun regulations, even getting rid of AR-15s.
Right. Well,
And
Dimitri, here's what would be my advice to you. Less time on Facebook with these people. Unfriend them and walk away. Because if people don't know that, they're not they're either just too far gone for you to deal with, or they're acting in bad faith. So that would be my advice to you. I appreciate the call. You can't. There's no point in banging your head against the wall. I mean, if people take that position, your energies are better expended in other places. Calling from a 347 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Three 347.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Sam.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Lefty Uno from Northern Virginia.
Lefty Uno, what's going on?
Jimmy Reefer Cakes
Yes.
has inspired me to sing a diss song against him because I've had enough with him singing about Hillary. He lost. Get over it.
All right.
So, give me about a month. I will produce a song. I will send it in, and that'll be it.
All right, great.
Mic drop. I'm a buoy. I'm out.
Right.
He's a talented guy too. Like
look
Lefty
out.
Uno is someone who actually has some musical talent.
Oh, so this is sort of like a square off.
Yeah, but it might be. I'm actually a little as much as Jimmy hates me, I'm a little concerned for him because I think we're talking like different weight classes here in terms of basic talent.
He might die of those third-degree burns.
Yeah.
This is funny. Ryan Zinke, this is the guy who's like putting up put up his own flag too, didn't he, at the Interior Department or something? Also did a heck of a job with Puerto Rico. The Interior Department is spending nearly $139,000 to upgrade 3 sets of double doors in the office of Secretary Ryan Zinke. Supposedly, he was not aware of the contract for the work prior to a request about it from the Associated Press. This is part of the decade-long modernization of the historic building erected in 1936. Who could imagine that any of these people in the White House are spending enormous amounts of money, right?
We don't do stuff like that.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. Flat screen candy?
You have Ken Pruitt spending $225,000 on a soundproof privacy booth inside his office to prevent eavesdropping on his phone calls.
What?
I could
Tom
just tell
Price
you, hey,
had
you
to-
guys want that? No problem.
Tom Price had to resign in September because he spent at least $400,000 on taxpayer funds on private jets for himself and his staff. We're going to drain the swamp. As you know, Ben Carson was going to spend $31,000 on a new dining set. Well, just so that Ryan Zinke knows, for $139,000, not only can you get 3 sets of doors for your office, if you go back to your home state of Montana, I've done the work here on Zillow for him, there are 5,512 homes for sale up to $139,000. You can buy a whole multiple set. You can also get 3 Tesla S's. Is that right? For $139,000. And this is the best part. Do we have the clip of the? You could buy 10. Didn't we figure this out? 10 of these water propelled.
14.
Was it 14?
I thought it was 14.
10 to 14 water propelled jetpacks. Yes, look at this, baby. This is an eye compilation of the water-based jetpack that you can purchase. You can get 10 to 12 of these things.
That's pretty cool.
It looks super cool.
Could have given it to like his whole senior staff and actually done something. Like enjoy your grift a little bit.
I'd like to see Mnuchin on one of those things.
I would like to see it explode while Mnuchin was on.
That's pretty cool. And look at how happy everybody seems
like
in that video.
Just like Mnuchin, if it exploded, there would just be like remnants of like chin and eyebrow, glasses.
I think we should do that on some kind of work retreat, but I feel like we would not be doing so well at this.
No, it probably takes
I feel
longer.
like it's harder than it looks.
Definitely. Call him from a 404 area code. Who's this?
Hi, this is Brian from Georgia.
Hi, Brian. What's on your mind?
Not much. My first time calling in. Been listening since just about right after the election happened.
How did you find us? On YouTube?
And, I don't really remember. I think I just kind of searched like best podcasts maybe on Google.
Oh, all right. Good.
And, I didn't actually start listening until the Amazon services went out, and I couldn't listen to my Pandora, so I had to listen to some podcasts, and I was hooked from the first episode.
I love it. Appreciate you calling in. So what do you want to share with us?
Pitbull. Oh, sorry. I'm working. People talking to me.
Where are you working?
Well, first off, I just really wanted to, I'm a dog walker, so
Okay.
just walking a dog.
Appreciate it.
Just wanted to thank y'all for what you do. When that happened, I just was really surprised that this is the country that I was born to. I had just moved back from South Korea where I taught for like 6 years, and I moved back in 2015 and was just like shocked at
timing.
what I came back to. I think I was probably pretty naive until all this went down. So you guys I'm another one that you're keeping sane
All right.
day
Well,
to day.
glad to hear it. and we certainly appreciate your calling and letting us know. Thanks so much.
Yeah, for sure. And one other thing I've been kind of thinking about. I really like philosophy, and I just kind of think about stupid shit all the time. But so like with the whole economy and like universal basic income, and even cryptocurrency, I've been kind of curious. I don't know a lot about economics and money. It's something that I've been wanting to learn some more about. But how crazy would it be if, like, we switched from government-backed money to, like, human-backed money, where instead of, like, with Bitcoin, you solve the algorithms on your computer in order to create the coins, just naturally money should just be made by each person for being a person, because isn't that kind of ultimately what money is? It's just like human time?
Well, I mean, I think, my understanding of currency's value comes from the fact that there is an issuer who takes that money back. So, for instance, in the United States, there is a monopoly of force by the government that prints the money, and it circulates the money. And the reason why it has value is because this government says, we will only accept your dues for society, taxes, in this specific currency that we issue. And that's where the value comes from. I mean, you can have other things that, have value because people sort of agree to it. But, I think we see with cryptocurrencies and with all sorts of, like, I guess, microcurrencies is that it's very hard to get everybody to agree on its value. And then what you're really just talking about is a commodity that has value to a specific number of people. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interesting idea, and I think maybe there's some like values that come out of that concept, but I'm not sure it's going to work as a currency. Got to jump though. I appreciate the call. Thanks for listening.
Believe me, there ain't nothing micro about my currency. Believe me. It's true.
Dean Heller is running around right now, apparently claiming that Justice Kennedy is going to retire over the summer. And
great.
I want people to just, contemplate this for a moment, just because so you have some horror to think about over the weekend. But not only would this, the theory behind this, and I don't know why. I mean, it's possible Dean Heller wants this because obviously, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand why it would be in Dean Heller's interest to lie about this. And it may just be a rumor that he's heard, and it's just one that maybe sharpens the mind of people who he wants to raise money from. Because maybe he's trying to say, like, look, I do have a chance of winning here. And I have a chance now, and I want to convince some big donors to give me money now. And by the summer, if Kennedy has not retired, then it won't mean anything. But contemplate this for a moment. The number of people who voted for Donald Trump because of the vacancy in the Supreme Court was well into double digits in terms of polling. The top issue. Donald Trump's a scumbag. I don't care. He's going to put a conservative on the Supreme Court. And he did. And that's why Mitch McConnell is quite convinced that he won the election for Donald Trump by keeping Merrick Garland from that seat on the Supreme Court. Another a vacancy on the Supreme Court that appears in the summer or even in the run-up to the 2018 election would undoubtedly inspire the conservative base to get out and vote for a Republican senator. So there's two ways to interpret this. Maybe Dean Heller has heard something. I find it hard to believe. I don't know why Dean Heller would have been hearing about it, but it's possible. The other one is that Dean Heller is out there trying to convince donors, hey, this is a scenario that could happen, so give me money now so that I'm in the race by the summer. Just that I drop that in there. Calling from a 510 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam?
Yes?
Yeah, hi. So I called yesterday, and I was, talking about going to the event with Dave Rubin. So I did go to the event. I wanted to give you some, talk about what happened. So let me just cover like three things as quickly as I can.
Okay.
So when I got there, there were Libertarian Party people tabling there at the event, and there was a guy who was trying to get signatures so that he could run for governor. And his name was like Robert Griffiths or something like that. So this guy, his plan was to run as a Democrat, but actually be a libertarian. And this was his pitch to us. So he said, okay, you should vote for me because what I'm going to do is I'm going to default on the bonds of California so that we can cut taxes. Okay, so that was the setup to this whole thing.
Now, wait a second.
Okay,
Let me
so
just
then
ask you this.
the event-
1 second. Let
Yeah.
me just ask you one thing. Dave Rubin
Yeah.
is known for supposedly for hearing all sides. Was there just libertarian tables there?
There was no other table
Now,
other than libertarians. Absolutely.
To be fair, tell us who the sponsor of this event was.
The sponsor of the event was the Ayn Rand Institute.
Okay, so the Ayn Rand Institute,
Yeah.
that's why there was just libertarian tables there. This is Dave Rubin,
Yeah.
the classical liberal, or I think he's like what he calls
The
himself.
classical
Or
liberal,
The
yeah.
last liberal is what he calls himself. But
The only liberal on earth, Dave Rubin.
Okay, so it's sponsored by a libertarian organization, undoubtedly backed by the Koch brothers. Somebody can Google that for me. But go ahead. And so what else did you notice?
Yeah. Okay, so the event starts. Dave is basically hosting, and he starts off with a terrible, comedy set. It was horrible.
To be fair, no, hold on. Let me just excuse me. I just want to make sure, because this is something that we're probably going to clip, because it's important that people understand about Dave Rubin. If you could, because out of respect, I don't know your sense of humor. Perhaps Dave Rubin is funny. So let's just stick to the facts. Let's not think about let's not think about the actual the notion that that you're being a subjective analysis of his comedy. It could have been very funny. Please continue.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the speakers they had some guy from the Ayn Rand Institute, and they had this other speaker, Heather McDonald. I don't know if you know who she is. She wrote this book, The War on Cops. Basically, her whole thing is that the problem with police in the United States isn't that the cops are over-policing or are militarized. It's that black people are criminals, and that it's the black people's fault, not the cops' fault.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Is it?
Very interesting. So at some point, she goes into this weird monologue about she talks about slavery, and then she talks about this event where pro-slavery people attacked abolitionists because they were trying to speak out against slavery, and she compared the pro-slavery people to Antifa. Okay? All right. So after the end, I actually got to ask him my question. I didn't ask him the question that you wanted me to ask. I actually asked the question that I kind of called in to ask because it was a free speech event, and it didn't, I didn't want to bring up anything on an economic basis.
Okay.
And basically, he all
What
he
was the
said
question?
was,
Tell us the question. Tell us the question.
Yeah. So actually, what I wanted to ask a different question, but I just started off by saying, hey, Dave, I'm a really big fan of yours. I was one of your first subscribers. I subscribed to you on Patreon, but I became very disappointed in you because you started having on a lot of right-wing people and a lot of nutty people like Mike Cernovich. And then we kind of got into a debate with one another, and he was like, oh, well, you don't really like my show. And I was like, well, no, I actually did like your show at first. And your show kind of devolved into something that was like a far-flung from what it was when you first started it. Yeah, and then he asked me oh, could you name 3 crazy people that I've had? And I haven't watched any of his stuff in a while, so I just named Mike Cernovich and then kind of moved on.
Right.
Yeah. So, but what's the most interesting thing was, so I that night.
Well, what's the question that you asked him?
My
What's the question that you asked him?
Oh, that was it. I just told him I was disappointed in you.
Oh, okay.
And I think that you should have on I think you should have on Sam Seder. I think you should I think the words I said was, you should stop ducking Sam Seder. You should have on ContraPoints, and you should have on Destiny.
What did he
So
say
that was
what did he say in response to that?
He said nothing. He kind of just moved on. He talked about people he was interviewing. He talked about interviewing David Frum and some other people he said were progressive or
David
whatever.
Frum?
Yeah, and
Wow.
David Frum, the speechwriter for George W. Bush.
Yeah, but that is the thing. It's disingenuous nonsense from Dave Rubin. What a shock! But we can blame the Mick resistance for David Frum.
That may be the case, but I mean, nevertheless, the taxonomy, though he may be appreciated by anti-Trumpers, the taxonomy of David Frum has not changed. But
yeah, exactly.
All right. So what else did you want to? Yep.
Yeah, so one last thing. So the video streamed on his channel, and that night I looked up the video and I actually saw my question. And a lot of people were actually talking about it in the comments section. But what's funny is that from that video he removed the Q&A. So if you go on that video right now, the Q&A is not there. So maybe he'll upload it later, I don't know. But
no, wait a second. This is a serious charge you're making, because this is a free speech forum. Dave Rubin champions free speech, and you're telling me that he's cut out the Q&A.
The Q&A is gone.
Maybe he did this because he wants to release it as another video, but it is weird to the whole thing seems to be down. That may be, to be fair.
Oh.
He may be recutting it to put it somewhere else, or he may have a problem with the Ayn Rand Foundation. They are a 501c3. Maybe there was some concern about what they were up to. That's very interesting. But all right, there it is. Dave Rubin, supported by the libertarian organization Ayn Rand thing. And look, I want to be clear. Anybody can be supported by anybody. It's just that you got to ask yourself, why would the Ayn Rand Foundation support a so-called liberal? Appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
For anyone who's not watching the video, Matt just put up the links to the Koch brothers on the screen.
There you go. And we should say, as a 501c3 nonprofit, they probably, an associate member of the State Policy Network, they don't necessarily even have to show where all their money can come from. So
is that deductible or not?
I think it is.
Oh, it's a C3. It's deductible.
All right, we got time for one more phone call, ladies and gentlemen. You're calling from a 317 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? You are the final call of the week.
Hello? Is this... Hello?
Hello? You may be the second to last call.
Sorry. Is this...
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I didn't actually expect to have my phone call picked up. Sorry. I'm a long-time listener. Well, medium-time listener, first-time caller.
First-time caller.
Is this Carter Page?
Yes.
Well, I guess I have two things, and I would like to leave it up to you as to which one, because I have sort of a point about the founder of the Traditionalist Youth Network, Matthew Heimbach, or a personal story about how you without me ever actually listening or knowing what the majority report was, inoculated me against libertarianism.
Oh, I'll take the second story. Let's hear that.
Okay, so my stepfather listens to a lot of podcasts, and I especially on long drives, and because of a sort of interesting situation where my parents were divorced but lived in different states, every other weekend I basically spent 3 hours in the car.
Wow, that's
and
rough.
Because of that, I often was subjected to lots of different podcasts about like deep policy stuff and whatnot. But I do remember one particular incident where I remember I had sort of known what the majority report was, but I was never really interested, although now I am and listen to it about every day. But it was actually the debate with Walter Block, and what I distinctly remember hearing was the notion of competing courts and thinking, this is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard.
And coincidentally, that's one of the things that I was thinking at that moment as well.
And my stepfather, being a firefighter, when I asked about, like, what is this, had a lot to say about libertarians. And especially, like, as a state employee and someone who apparently works with a lot of firefighters who who wanted to support a Republican candidate who wanted to cut the wages for state employees, interestingly enough. But after that, I had there were other times where I heard things from the Majority Report, and it got to the extent that he listened to it so much, and I was familiar with it, that when I first saw Bob's Burgers at an episode with a character voiced by Sam Seder, I'm like, is that the Majority Report guy?
Yeah. In fact, it was. Wow. So it's all come full circle. Well, you know what? I appreciate this. How old are you?
I am 21, actually.
Well,
so I was...
You must have been considerably younger at the time, but listen, I appreciate your listening. Thanks for calling in, and I'm glad that that Walter Block and I were able to inoculate you from libertarianism. I feel maybe I should send him a muffin basket, or maybe I should get someone that I hire
I'm glad
to negotiate with the muffin basket with him. But I appreciate the call. All right, folks, that is, in fact, the final call of the day. I didn't even open up the IM machine.
Oh.
So we will see you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made, for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive,